Hello, good morning mga katribu. Welcome to Straight Talk, where we go beyond the headlines and examine the issues shaping our country. I'm Chito Losada. We're live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Daily Tribune PH on YouTube, and at Daily Tribune Official on TikTok.
And I'm Terry Montalibano. Today, we look at two major issues confronting the country: the 2027 national budget and the continuing impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte.
Correct. So we'll first speak with former Senate President Frank Drilon about the proposed 7.2 trillion 2027 National Expenditure Program, safeguards against budget insertions, unprogrammed appropriations, and the Senate's compressed schedule as it balances budget deliberations with the impeachment trial.
We'll also get his assessment of what he has called impeachment fatigue and whether the length and pace of the proceedings could affect public confidence in the Senate and the impeachment process.
So, former Senate President Frank Drilon, welcome to Straight Talk. Maraming salamat.
For joining
It's an
us.
honor for joining us today.
Thank you, Chito. Ted, thank you for having me this morning. As I said off camera, I'll say it on camera, you have grown old.
I hope wiser. Older and wiser, I hope.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, hi Ted, nice to see you again after decades. You have been, Chito, for your information, Ted and I go back about maybe 50 years ago. Not that really that
Wow.
Maybe maybe 4 decades.
Half
Anyway,
a
let's start
century.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Senator, Senate President, you called the confidential and intelligence funds one of the most abused items in the national budget. With DPWH 644 billion allocation and over 100 billion for flood control. After the Sandigan Bayan testimony on the leadership funds, which specific budget insertion safeguards should the Finance Committee, the Senate Finance Committee, build into the
2027
bill, the
General Appropriations Bill
General
this year.
Appropriations Bill this year. And I wanted to talk to you about the NTF LCAC. You've said that this budget can be used for the presidential elections.
You know, I can hardly hear you, Chito. If you can speak louder, please. You know, I can hardly understand what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Repeat it.
Yeah. Can you hear me now better?
You speak
Okay.
louder and
Better?
slower.
Okay, okay. I can hear you better.
Okay.
Slower and
So you've called the confidential intelligence funds one of the most abused items in the national budget. With the DPWH allocation, including over 100 billion for flood control after the Sandigan Bayan testimony. What
on leadership
on
funds.
leadership funds? What specific budget insertion safeguards should the Finance Committee of the Senate build into the
BT
GAB,
the
General
2027
Appropriations
General
Bill?
Appropriations Bill, this item.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay. First of all, to put it in context, the Confidential and Intelligence Fund in the budget, commonly known as CIF, is about probably 12 billion, if I recall the figures correctly, 12 billion. And the problem is the structural safeguards in this item of the budget. Remember, 12 billion is quite a sum. The first reform that should be done is that only those involved in intelligence gathering should be allowed CIF or confidential intelligence funds in their budget. I repeat, only those involved in intelligence gathering for national security, which would exclude officers which has absolutely nothing to do with that. One, for example, why should the National Intelligence Coordinating Agency have over 1 billion in confidential funds? The title of the office, the name of the office is Coordinating Agency, Intelligence Coordinating Agency. You look at the budget, a coordinating agency has over a billion, I think 1.5 billion. Why should an agency which coordinates intelligence gathering have an intelligence fund? Who are they watching out or watching out for? The intelligence agents? That's crazy. Remove it. This is one of the weak weak items in the budget. So as a rule, number one, only those involved in confidential and intelligence gathering, which would exclude even the office of the Vice President and the Department of Education during the time of Vice President Sara. With all due respect, why should the OVP have confidential intelligence funds? And she requested for, was it 125 billion in confidential intelligence funds. And there was even no financial plan that accompanied it. And it was released 2 weeks before the end of the year. These are very, very, very basic safeguards which are disregarded, and that is why it has resulted in this anomaly. Now, we can discuss that depending on what you want to know further, but just as a point, number one, only those involved in intelligence gathering should be entitled to confidential funds, which right off the bat, that should exclude those which are not involved. Okay, I'll cite to you a specific example of how this is abused. I do not know if this is still the case, but the Witness Protection Program funds of the Department of Justice are all under confidential intelligence funds. I don't know how many billions this is, but there is reason to apply strictly the rules on intelligence funds because this is subject to abuse as the auditing and accounting of this fund is by its very nature very loose. We have the so-called closed envelope system. If I am the head of the office and I have intelligence funds, I place in my accounting of 100 million, I bought information from Teddy Montelibano and I seal it in an envelope and the COA will accept that. That is how loose this is accounted for and therefore subject to abuse. So they must be very strict on this matter.
Senate President Mr. Drilon. No, but what about the Office of the President? Why is he allowed confidential funds?
I don't know.
That's a
rationale
good
behind this?
question.
I don't know why she was allowed confidential funds. And in fact,
Office of
the
the
budget
President.
of the Office of the Vice President had no item for confidential funds. The Office of the President transferred the confidential funds, I think over 100 million, to the Office of the President. When there's no item, ang tawag sa budget procedure, walang bahay na pwede mong paglipatan ng pera. And there was no item for confidential intelligence fund. But the Office of the President transferred this amount to the Office of the Vice President.
Came from the Office of the President.
It came from the Office of the President.
Sorry?
It
Came
came from
from-
the Office of the President.
Yes, this was in 2022. Remember, in 2022, budget was prepared in 2021. The vice president in 2021 was Leni Robredo. Leni Robredo had no intelligence funds. He did ask for it, and rightfully, because he was not involved in intelligence gathering. But so when her term ended in July of 2022, the new administration took over, and there was no item for intelligence funds in the office of the vice president. Humingi sila kay Pangulong Marcos ng intelligence fund, binigyan. Kung hindi ako nagkakamali, 125 billion ang binigay.
Okay, yeah.
About this, the
And
funding for NTFL CAC. You have
For what?
NTFL CAC. You have some misgivings about the budget.
yeah,
Of course.
the communist.
NTF, ano pangalan?
LCAC.
What is that?
EL
When I was
says
in
something.
about the yeah,
LCAC something.
You know, Chito, we are a country with the longest running insurgency. NTF-LCAC was justified as a measure against insurgency. Mayroon na pong 50 taon, hanggang ngayon may insurgency pa tayo. Ang suspect, ayaw ko ng salita tungkol dyan. But the NTF-LCAC is supposed to be took as a counterinsurgency fund. And it is, if I recall correctly, here I'm just talking from memory, the fund is administered by the armed forces and the and the security forces. This could be done by line agencies. Again, this is open to corruption because the auditing is something that we could assume would be more liberal than what it should be, because it is an anti-insurgency fund. When this was started, I can't recall anymore who started which administration, but I opposed it vehemently. I opposed the NTF-LCAC as a form or as a budget item. But since I was in the minority, I was overruled. But so you see the result now. It's all abused. You know, it has. I will not mention anymore here the what has transpired in that fund. But yes, it should be deleted, and the fund should be given to the line agencies. For example, livelihood programs are part of the NTF-LCAC programs. There are a dozen agencies involved in livelihood in this government. Why does it have to be given to the NTF-LCAC?
Okay, point well taken. Senator Frank, the Supreme Court still has not ruled on the constitutionality of unprogrammed appropriations in the 2024-2026 budgets. Even though you and Tito Winnie, another friend of mine from way back, Professor Monsod, Solita Monsod, urged an early decision as amici, how do you pronounce this? Amici curiae. Is that how you pronounce it? If the court rules where the Senate is deliberating the 2027 National Expenditures Program, how should the chamber handle a budget that may need to be reopened and processed?
Well, you know, yes, we were invited by the Supreme Court, Winnie and I, together with Secretary Abad and Secretary Jokno, to act as advisors of the court, or we call it in Latin, amicus curiae. And we were supposed to advise the court as to the validity of the unprogrammed appropriation being included in the national budget and other questions related to that. I was the one who urged the Supreme Court to act on this petition as early as possible, because the 2027 budget is now being deliberated upon by Congress. In fact, they have started committee hearings. It is important that the court issues its ruling on the constitutionality of this unprogrammed appropriation, because it is there. It is an item now. So that it is best, I advise the Supreme Court, it is best that this be decided as early as possible so that Congress will be accordingly guided if there is any constitutional question on the unprogrammed appropriation. The court, in open hearing, if I recall correctly, subject to confirmation, said they will decide this in August. We are just a few days away from the end of August. I don't see the same being decided. Well, I hope that they decide soon, because again, this issue will be prominent as the debates on the budget proceed.
Yeah.
So
Well, the Senate is now
decision
hearing.
with
Okay. I want to ask this.
Mm.
Can you ask this? The Senate.
The
is
third,
now-
yeah. About the Senate now running budget hearings, Senate
Thursday and
President,
Friday.
while holding impeachment sessions Monday to Wednesday. Does that split schedule arrangement risk shortchanging the scrutiny of the NEP, the
7.2
7.3
trillion
trillion
NEP.
NEP? And should the senator judges or also finance committee members be doing the double duty this way?
Yeah.
Uh,
Two very important matters. You know, the budget,
budget and the
the
impeachment.
trial. I don't know which is more important.
Yes, it is. This is the time when the senators are earning their keep insofar as the national coffers or the budget is concerned, because it is a very time-consuming process. I looked at the budget, 24 budgets when I was in the Senate. 24 years I was in the Senate, 24 budgets I looked at. And this is a very time-consuming process, because you have to look at all the agencies of government. In fact, when the new senators, during my time, the new senators would come in, they would ask me, how do you advise us, Frank? I tell them, if you want to learn government, attend the committee hearings of the Committee on Finance, because that is when the program of each department is discussed. And because, and this is a very tedious process. The budget is supposed to start on January 1 of the following year. And therefore, we must finish the debates by and send the General Appropriations Act to the President middle of December, in order that it can be signed before December 31. The budget deliberation starts in August. So you have barely 4 or 5 months of debating on I know how many trillion pesos budget today. So that there may be reason and rationale for having a budget for 2 years. In other words, you enact a measure, the budget, the national expenditure, the General Appropriations Act, with a validity of 2 years, so that you do not have to be pressed for time of approving a budget involving the entire structure of government in 4 or 5 months' time. Now, especially at this time, when you have the impeachment trial going on, and I sat as a senator judge in 2 impeachment trials, one for President Erap, another one for Chief Justice Corona. And I tell you, wala na po kayo magagawang ibang trabaho. You can hardly find time for the legislative work the moment you have an impeachment trial, because apart from attending 4-hour sessions of the court, kailangan po mag-aral ka kung ano yung ebidensya, ano yung batas. Hindi naman po pwedeng pagwapo-gwapo ka lang sa television. You must be able to do your share in explaining to the people what it is all about, and and therefore spend time studying the evidence presented, the law involved, etc. So I can see how tight the schedule is, and the demands on the time of the senator judges is something that you wouldn't want to be in their place at this point of their political life.
Good point there, Senator. 2 years for
Yes.
a budget.
Yeah. Kasi,
Yeah. Why not?
I mean,
it's
one
not
year and then you start deliberating again.
deliberating. It's almost
But in connection with what you were saying, Senator Frank, no, with the general appropriations bill timeline compressed, the House
Correct,
alone
yes.
is targeting just 53 days. August 17th, well, it started to October 9, and the Senate now absorbing fewer working days because of the trial, the impeachment trial. Do you see a real risk of another reenacted budget? And if so, what would that mean for the DPWH and confidential fund line items that you have flagged as most vulnerable to abuse?
The reality of a reenacted budget is something that is within the realm of political possibilities at this stage because of the circumstances. Uh, it is entirely possible that because of the schedules, because of the impeachment trial, you will not have a budget for 2027 by the end of the year. So you will have a reenacted budget in accordance with the Constitution. Now, what does a reenacted budget mean? That means there are no new items of expenditure that can be authorized. And remember that about 20 to 25% of our national economy is contributed by government spending. So if there are no government spending, your economy will not grow. That's what it means. And second, the reenacted budget means you give carte blanche to the executive to do whatever they want insofar as the budget is concerned. The only restriction is that the used items, the items which have been executed, the expense items that have been done cannot be again funded. But certainly the executive becomes a very strong executive when there is a reenacted budget because the items of expenditures are more liberally interpreted given the fact that the public contribution to our national economy is about 1/5 of the entire gross domestic product.
all right.
Okay, yes.
So
So we go impeachment fatigue already, sure.
yeah, but you're worried about the an impeachment fatigue.
Fatigue, yeah. Yeah.
What what will happen? Do you think that now the impeachment court-owned spokesman saying the trial could run until mid-February at the current pace? Will this raise
sure.
your
I don't know
concern?
how long it, but it is reasonable to predict that at the earliest they will finish the trial by the end of the year, in my view, at the earliest, and having a decision by the first quarter of this year is not that is something that is within the realm of possibilities, so that the impeachment trial at the end of the year, the judgment, or up to the first quarter of next year. Nobody can say. Nobody can say how long it will take. Just make an educated guess on the basis of the number of witnesses that the prosecution intends to present.
About the impeachment fatigue, why are you worried about that, Senator?
Well,
Well, you see, okay, Chito, impeachment involves public perception. Remember that impeachment is a mechanism that can exact accountability on officials, on the high officials of this land, the president, the vice president, the chief justice, the chairs of the different constitutional commissions. So they must. So your audience here, apart from the senator judges, is the public, because the perceptions of the people on an impeachment trial is critical to their continued belief that our democracy and our justice system works. So you have to strike a balance between your effort to provide evidence of the wrongdoing and the fact that the public is eager to know what actually happens and how this will proceed. So, now they have learned how to do it quickly. Public opinion, they realize, is against them. If they go into details like a court of law, just to demonstrate what I'm saying on this.
Oops. Okay.
We're having
We froze Yuko.
Senator, we're having
Technical
I don't
problem.
know, technical
Pitch.
problem. Okay, we're going on a commercial break right now, and we'll be back with Senator Frank
In a
Drilon.
few minutes. In a while.
This break is brought to you by Meralco, ang liwanag ng bukas. SM, we've got it all for you. Union Bank, it starts with you.
Usapang OFW is the show that honors the journeys of our modern-day heroes, our OFWs. Join Chingmi Fernandez, John.
Hi, Senator. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
We had some technical problems again. Well,
Senator Frank, can you hear us?
can you hear us now? I think we're still having problems. There.
Senator Frank, can you hear us? Sorry.
Sorry about that. We
Technical
did have,
glitch.
some
Okay.
technical-
But let me ask Senator Frank. Prosecutor Terry Ridon has floated adding more trial days a week to finish presenting evidence on all four articles by end of September, a deadline that already looks unlikely. As a former Senate President who has managed high-stakes floor proceedings on the floor, what concrete steps should Senate President Sherwin Gatchalian and Escudero and presiding officer of the impeachment trial, Chief Escudero, take now to actually compress the calendar rather than just talk about compressing it?
I think the senators, again, we have another problem.
You go.
It's on their end.
God, Jesus.
Hello,
Did
Senator.
you? Yeah.
Did you hear our question? Or should we repeat it? You're on mute.
What's wrong?
Okay.
Did you?
There.
I have ready what your question was.
Prosecutor Terry Ridon has floated adding more trial days a week to finish presenting the evidence on all four articles by the end of September, a deadline that already looks unlikely. As a former Senate President who has managed high-stakes proceedings on the floor, what concrete steps should Senate President Sherwin Gatchalian and Senator Chis Escudero, as presiding officer of the impeachment, take now to actually compress the calendar rather than just talk about compressing it?
Well, the first thing they can do is avail of the remedies for a speedy trial under the rules of court by declaring certain facts to be of judicial notice without need of evidence or without need of extensive testimony. One example for is the fact of the threats made by the Vice President in the middle of the night. If you recall, this was the first article which was discussed. 2 days were devoted just to prove that this is the Vice President indeed in the video. That it was not tinkered with, etc. It took them 2 full days to do this. These are matters which could have been shortened. But having said this, it is really difficult. You can only compress the trial so much. Otherwise, you violate certain basic principles of a fair trial. So I do not know. I have no solution. Maybe they should meet 5 times a week instead of what, 3? 5 times a week. The difficulty is that there is also the budget hearings, the committee hearings. Remember, the budget would require committee hearings, and the committee hearings is tedious. I have gone through it. So, between the budget and the impeachment trial, you just would have to be prepared for a long, drawn session of the Senate, and hopefully they can finish it on time. But I endorse the proposal of Congressman Ridon to add, let's say, trial days, especially when the committee hearings of the budget is in full swing. Remember that the budget of 2027 is an election year budget. So talagang pag-iingatan yan, maraming maisingit yan, insertion sa tawag natin, maisingit para sa mga politiko. So kailangan tingnan ng gusto, suriin ng gusto ang National Expenditure Program. Kung mayroon mga nakatago ng mga formatter, sigurado ako marami na nakatago dyan. So it takes time to go over this. I would strongly suggest that there will be full cooperation from the cabinet and from the executive branch in order to expedite the approval of the budget.
Senator, analysts at Nikkei Asia and some other publications argue that the trial's length may actually help rather than hurt BP Duterte's 2028 prospects by normalizing the spectacle. Does that dynamic worry you, or does it change your view on how aggressively the Senate should move to streamline the proceedings?
I'm sorry, Chito, I did not understand what opinion the President.
The Nikkei Asia article said that
Nikkei Asia, the
Japanese magazine.
Nikkei Asia.
It stated there that the longer that the trial proceeds, the impeachment trial proceeds, the chance it may actually help BP Sara's chances in the elections rather than harm it. So how do you, what's your take on this?
I don't know, that's a matter of opinion. I do not know what the effect of this exposure of the anomalies in the use of confidential intelligence fund will affect our election. Nobody can say. The evidence today that there were malpractices at the very least, if not corruption, in the use of the confidential intelligence fund has been shown by compelling evidence. But until we hear what the side of the Vice President, we cannot come to any conclusion on that. So the statement of whoever that is, I do not know how conclusion can be. It really depends on what we see in the course of the trial.
Well, in relation with bad weather postponements, banking document extensions, and now Senator Judge absences. There's so many absences there among the senator judges. Becoming routine, do you think the trial's credibility is being eroded more by the substance of the charges or by the procedural drift itself? And is there a point at which fatigue, the so-called fatigue, starts working in the respondent's favor at the ballot box?
Well, all of those are speculative, Teddy. How it will affect the ballot, the 2028 elections, and we could only, it's difficult to say at this point what the effect will be.
So,
Okay.
Senator, we'll let you go. You have another
Appointment.
engagement, I guess.
Senator, but Senator Frank, thank you very much for your time.
Thank
know
you,
you-
Teddy.
I know you-
Thank you, Chito. Thank you for having me today.
Be
Our
every week
pleasure.
texting you for the book.
Books. 2 books.
I'll be texting.
Oh, Teddy, you text to me the address and you'll have it within the week.
Nice to
Thank
see
you
you
very
again, Senator Frank, and
Okay, so
very
please,
good.
Teddy,
Yeah.
Teddy, send me your text and you'll have 2 copies. One for Chito, one for you.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you very much.
Okay.
Free of charge.
Okay.
Okay.
What an honor.
happy
Thank
about
you,
that.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, Ted.
So, mga katribu, as the Senate balances its constitutional responsibilities with an increasingly compressed legislative calendar, questions of fiscal discipline, accountability, and public trust remain at the center of the debate. And to
And to further examine the country's fiscal position, we will now turn to Professor Solita Monsod, the 5th Director General of the National Economic and Development Authority and former Professor Emeritus at the UP School of Economics.
So we're having a commercial break before we have Professor Monsod.
This break is brought to you by Meralco, ang liwanag ng bukas. SM, we've got it all for you. Union Bank, it starts with you.
Usapang OFW is the show that honors the journeys of our modern-day heroes, our OFWs. Join Chingmi Fernandez, John Dodson, and Rafi Ayang every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. to hear the real stories behind the sacrifices. Watch it live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok.
Want to hear from thought leaders shaping our world? Straight Talk with Chito Lazada and Ted Montalibano dives into leadership, politics, and business every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Catch conversation live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok.
This break is brought to you by Meralco, ang liwanag ng bukas. SM, we've got it all for you. Union Bank, it starts with you.
Usapang OFW is the show that honors the journeys of our modern-day heroes, our OFWs. Join Chingmi Fernandez, John Dodson, and Rafi Ayang every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. to hear the real stories behind the sacrifices. Watch it live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok.
Want to hear from thought leaders shaping our world? Straight Talk with Chito Lazada and Ted Montalibano dives into leadership, politics, and business every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Catch conversation live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok.
This break is brought to you by Meralco, ang liwanag ng bukas. SM, we've got it all for you. Union Bank, it starts with you.
Usapang OFW is the show that honors the journeys of our modern-day heroes, our OFWs. Join Chingmi Fernandez, John Dodson, and Rafi Ayang every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. to hear the real stories behind the sacrifices. Watch it live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok.
Want to hear from thought leaders shaping our world? Straight Talk with Chito Lazada and Ted Montalibano dives into leadership, politics, and business every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Catch conversation live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok.
This break is brought to you by Meralco, ang liwanag ng bukas. SM, we've got it all for you. Union Bank, It starts with you.
Usapang OFW is the show that honors the journeys of our modern-day heroes, our OFWs. Join Chingmi Fernandez, John Dodson, and Rafi Ayang every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. to hear the real stories behind the sacrifices. Watch it live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok.
Want to hear from thought leaders shaping our world? Straight Talk with Chito Lazada and Ted Montalibano dives into leadership, politics, and business every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Catch conversation live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok.
And this break is brought to you by Meralco, ang liwanag ng bukas. SM, we've got it all for you. Union Bank, it starts with you.
Usapang OFW is the show that honors the journeys of our modern-day heroes, our OFWs. Join Chingmi Fernandez, John Dodson, and Rafi Ayang every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. to hear the real stories behind the sacrifices. Watch it live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok.
Want to hear from thought leaders shaping our world? Straight Talk with Chito Lazada and Ted Montalibano dives into leadership, politics.
Well, mga katribu, welcome back to Straight Talk. And
Joining us now is a favorite of ours,
of course,
Professor
our
Solita
idol.
Monsod, who was the 5th Director General of the National Economic and Development Authority and Professor Emeritus at the UP School of Economics. We will discuss the country's rising debt, slowing economic growth, unprogrammed appropriations, the 2027 National Expenditure Program, and the fiscal implications of the flood control controversy.
So, Professor Monsod, welcome to Straight Talk. Maraming salamat for joining us today.
Thank you. So good to see you. After
Yeah.
all these years, looking good.
You're looking good, ma'am.
Great to see you.
But we can't hear you.
There's something wrong with the audio?
Yeah, a little.
No problema.
Ayan!
Oh, yeah, we can hear you now.
We can hear you very, very loudly, ma'am.
Okay.
So, the national government debt hit a record 19 trillion at the end of June. And with the debt to GDP ratio back above the 60% international threshold for the first time since the 2000s.
The early 2000s.
Yeah. As NEDA's former chief economic planner, how much of that buildup do you attribute to genuine development financing versus the debt
First bias.
built into the automatic appropriation? Those are the debts that we have to pay.
Obviously, budget is supposed to be the vehicle for development financing has been totally abused. I think maybe about 30% of that budget is not being used for development financing. It is being used for financing contractors and the senators and the congressmen who have, is it not? It's become a business on their part. The Philippine government budget has become a business proposition on the part of some of our congressmen and senators. So that is going to wreak havoc. We have deficits, we have deficit targets. We have never met them aside from the fact, and so whenever we have a deficit, obviously our debt will increase, probably foreign debt and domestic debt. So it is no surprise that our debt ceilings, our debt has increased tremendously, especially in the past few years. It increased so much during the time of Duterte, and the excuse was COVID, but it was mismanagement of COVID. And now we have we are continuing on that trend. So that is it.
I don't know what the excuse is now, but
That is not true.
There is no
there is no
excuse.
excuse. Exactly.
Just the abuse of the budget right now.
Yeah, terrible. I mean, wow.
This whole and this whole impeachment is all part and parcel of that story. It shows how our legislators seem to think that the people's money is their money and they can do with it what they can. That's the whole story from beginning to end. And I think it is time for the Filipino people to put a stop to it. Starting with the impeachment, that's only one. You see, we know who the crooks are, don't we? But knowing something and being able to prove something are two different things. But now we've started with Sara Duterte, and it seems that can be proven. And we'll start with that, and the Filipino people will realize that their money is just being absorbed into the pockets of our legislators and our high government officials. As I said, they're treating it as if it was their money. Nagkukuhan sila na all of a sudden.
The practice intensified. You mean during
It's
the
plus beyond plus level. I mean, we're talking about billions rather than millions. And I remember there was that 6 million fund in the Department of, I don't know, fire or something. They were talking about 6 million and talagang they're going to investigate. Just go. You know, we've gone beyond the 6 million. We're into the 100 millions and the billions now.
trillions just
Well,
for flood control. That's reach 1 something trillion.
but I have a question, Professor Monsod. The GDP growth slowed to just 2.3%
Correct.
in the
yes.
second quarter, the weakest reading since 2009 outside the pandemic years. You have previously argued that inefficiency, not the corruption investigations themselves, drove last year's slowdown. Does that assessment still hold now that the flood control fallout has run a full extra year, or has the calculus shifted?
Well, kasi it seemed that the media and the government officials were pointing to the flood control scandal as the slower of growth. It was not the flood control problem. It was the corruption that slowed. Kasi corruption has become, it's way past my mind. I mean, it blows the mind, the corruption that's going on today. Parang yung corruption of yesterday was nothing compared to what's going on today. And that corruption, the stopping of that corruption is not the what do you mean? The stopping of that corruption is not the villain here. Do they mean that we should not have stopped the corruption investigation and then we would continue to grow? No, we are paying for that corruption now. And that is what has slowed the growth of when the budget is only 70% efficient or 60% efficient, the rest going on to favorite projects, corrupt projects that don't add to the productivity of the country, then obviously we are not going to get anywhere because the budget is it's the vehicle by which we translate our development objectives into reality. And if that budget is corrupted, is shot full of corruption, naturally, we're not going to be able to achieve our objectives, our growth objectives.
True. So, Professor, we're having a commercial break. So, please stay with us.
Okay.
This break is brought to you by Meralco, ang liwanag ng bukas. SM, we've got it all for you. Union Bank, it starts with you.
Usapang OFW is the show that honors the journeys of our modern-day heroes, our OFWs. Join Chingmi Fernandez, John Dodson, and Rafi Ayang every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. to hear the real stories behind the sacrifices. Watch it live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok.
Want to hear from thought leaders shaping our world? Straight Talk with Chito Lazada and Ted Montalibano dives into leadership, politics, and business every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Catch conversation live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok.
This break is brought to you by Meralco, ang liwanag ng bukas. SM, we've got it all for you. Union Bank, it starts.
So, mga tribo, we're back on Straight Talk, and we are talking to former NEDA Secretary Solita Monsod. Professor.
Oh,
better.
A lot better. You look good, Winnie,
Yeah.
after all these years. You look very good. My goodness.
One more time, be as long as the TV. Your nose, Pinocchio, every time you tell a lie, your nose grows a little longer. Okay, tama na.
I'm not a purveyor of false information. Genuinely, frankly, sincerely, you're looking good after all these years. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
where are we?
The third question maybe.
Yeah, you
about
told the Supreme Court the unprogrammed. I asked it already. You told the Supreme Court that unprogrammed appropriations function as a modern form of pork barrel. With the 2027 National Expenditure Program already submitted and the unprogrammed allocations constitutionality case still undecided, what happens to fiscal discipline if Congress passes another budget carrying the same unprogrammed allocation structure before the court rules?
I'm not supposed to be to talk about the unprogrammed. I mean that all. I'm not supposed. When you're an amicus curiae, you are not supposed to talk about the stuff you have been talking to the Supreme Court about. But I'm not. But I am no longer an amicus curiae because I got sick and I could not write my final report. But I will say that the unprogrammed allocations is essentially why we have not been able to close the deficit. We've only had a deficit I think zero deficit only one time during President Aquino's time. That is the son. We have always had deficit. Always had deficit targets. We are always going over the deficit target. It is, and the reason why is because the unprogrammed appropriations, the funding of the unprogrammed appropriations are from extra funds now. Those extra funds should be used for the budget deficit. They're not. They're used for additional projects, and those projects that are additional projects are generally the pork barrel projects. So we should get rid of the unprogrammed appropriations, because if there are extra funds, additional funds, they should be used to balance the budget, hindi ba? They're not. So what are we left with then? Every time the unprogrammed appropriations, at least this new administration, they have used that unprogrammed appropriations as a way of pork barrel, or as a way of financing the projects, the favorite projects of our legislators. And our legislators are not interested in development projects. They are interested in projects which can give them,
But ma'am, the UA started during the term of President Noynoy. And
Noy ba?
I
It started
suppose
with the
so.
president, with
But it
Pinoy,
was,
with Pinoy?
It was meant for the
Okay.
foreign funded projects,
Okay.
for the
Also-
local
no.
local counterpart.
I apologize to you, but I think you are wrong. The unprogrammed appropriations were supposed to be for foreign funded projects, right? In case they came into this mainstream and we needed time. Now that is no longer the case. Now those items in the unprogrammed appropriations, most of them are for mga kunwari mga bigay, government aid to the poor, etc. But it's really government aid to the legislators. You cannot you cannot from that. The legislators put in this projects mga hindi ko na nare-remember yung pangalan, but kunwari is government mga for the poor, for the whatever, etc. That money is just, it disappears. There is no accounting for them. And besides which, if they are unprogrammed appropriations, those projects are not, are not looked over by Congress at all. I mean, they don't belong to the president's budget. So if they are being used as soft pork, I mean for the pork barrel, they are parang parang that is an occasion, that unprogrammed appropriations item is an occasion for sin. If you're a Catholic boy, you know what an occasion of sin is. That is the occasion for sin.
Okay.
And sin a lot. So about this local support fund,
Here.
there's a new way to shift for
Local
now in
support fund, special fund.
2027. Well, it goes to the local government now.
So,
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
All, all
yeah.
Budget approach.
mentions.
Something wrong with audio.
Ma'am, we are having a problem with your audio.
What you have to,
Okay.
There,
Yeah,
better.
better.
the point is that they are using the local government, I mean, the local government funding is being used to finance next elections. Ano, binibigay na nila, pera na binibigay na nila sa mga executives para sa elections. That unprogrammed appropriations, let me be very clear, I do not think there is a place for unprogrammed appropriations because those unprogrammed appropriations are being used to be as a pork barrel. They're being used for projects that did not go under the scrutiny of the legislature or supposed scrutiny of the legislature, and they are used and having unprogrammed appropriations does not allow the government to use the funds to use those funds to cover the deficit, and so when our deficit remains, and whenever there is a deficit, you have to borrow. You have to borrow either domestically or internationally. Whatever it is, our government debt is much. It is overpassed the development the development objectives. Kasi sa development budget, development plan natin, meron tayong targets for the deficit, targets for the debt. They're all included as in the main section of this development plan. Those are all targets that are included, and those targets have never been met and are now way over.
Mom, debt servicing has been consuming close to 28% of the national budget in recent years, with the 2027 National Expenditure Program up by 6% increase to 7.2 trillion pesos. Do you see any sign that the administration is genuinely shrinking that debt service share, or is next year's growth, in quotation, mostly interest and amortization, keeping pace with new borrowings?
As long as there is such a thing as a catch-all, like the government, the unprogrammed appropriations, we will never be able to reduce our deficit.
UA is that the unprogrammed appropriation.
So what should we, how can you get rid of that?
True.
How do you get rid of it?
If the
Up to the
Congress
Congress.
has the will, yeah, can get rid
So
of
it's
it.
just
And the executive, of course.
and how do you whip the lash? I mean, is there any way?
It starts with the
There's
president.
no more shame. I mean, even if you shame them in public, they don't care.
Right,
Yeah.
correct.
There's something wrong with the audio again. I think she's
Well-
getting apoplectic.
Ma'am, your audio is not working right now.
Tito Winnie, your audio is not working again,
Yeah.
Okay.
There.
and it's breaking up.
It's breaking up.
What's wrong with this? How did he fix this?
It's in.
Sa kanya, hindi sa atin.
Ma'am, please come closer,
Come closer
to
to the
the
camera.
There.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Better,
can hear
better.
you. Ma'am.
Yes.
It's now better. Can see your beautiful face again.
No, stop.
DBM has proposed capping unprogrammed appropriations at around 2% of the budget. under the Philippine Budgeting Code. Is a percentage cap the right instrument, or does it just formalize a smaller version of the same discretionary pool that got abused in the flood control scandal? Anyway, you said that the removal of the UA would be the best option.
You know, it's impeding our growth in two ways: this corruption, flood control, etc. This use of the budget as private funds of our legislators and executive, right? We know that when you use this budget for those horrible flood control funds, etc., and you use only 40% of those funds are left for the project itself. 60% goes off to the contractors, to whatever it is. That means essentially that these projects, if they get finished at all, are inefficient projects. They were not the projects that were decided on by the people for their towns or their areas. In other words, the budget is being used inefficiently. That means that the country is within its production possibility curve. You know what the production possibility curve is? It's the best that we can do. All right, the best we can do. We are now doing not the best that we can do. So if we are doing the best we can do, we will go up, we can grow faster. And if we then increase our resources, we go up even more. And we can, I mean to say that as far as the government is concerned, we have the resources and the funding to achieve our development goals. If only the government officials themselves, meaning the legislative and the executive, just keep their hands out of that budget. In other words, they keep their hands in their pockets na lang. We will be able to achieve all that we want to achieve. That is so clear. It's not reducing the budget or cutting down the budget. Nothing. You cut down the budget and you still don't use the budget efficiently. Where are you?
We're hoping for the moon. So the peso's fiscal exposure is compounded by the country importing roughly a third of its food supply, ma'am. With the current account deficit still elevated and reserves under pressure, how much fiscal room do you think the government or the DBCC actually has to fund the NEP, National Expenditure Program?
Without further
the stated priorities without borrowing.
Supposedly, the National Expenditure Program is supposedly what we have to finance all our development objectives. That's clear. I mean, the development objectives, the development plan is not based on some misty record of what we want. It's not a dream, it's not a vision, it's a plan. And that plan is financed by the government, the budget, the National Expenditure Program. But that National Expenditure Program is so full of expenditures that have been distorted. I mean, can you imagine our like the subway in Makati? I mean, that subway that was supposed to be finished by August of 2029, that budget, there's money for it, and yet they use that money for something else. And the project itself, which is a very big development project, is now going. We're lucky if we're going to finish it by 2032. These are foreign funded projects. The foreigners have given their part of the money, but the money that they gave was used for other projects. That's what happened.
And we have
So,
to pay for the commitment expenses,
Japan already
commitment
complained.
fee.
Japan complained. I think Korea actually withdrew its loan because they saw it wasn't being used.
Mm.
Grabe. It's number 7.
Mm.
Put na
Yes,
this
sir.
budget over there. Ang galing-galing nila eh. Yung their use of the budget, they really tried. I mean, if only our legislators use their brains for the good of the Filipino people, wow, we're going to be better off than anybody else. They're using their brains to try to get money for themselves. Eh. Mali ang kanilang objective. They do not have the objective of the Filipinos in mind. They have their private objectives in mind. And as long as they are allowed to do that,
Nothing will happen.
Yeah, we're still in the same rut. I mean, my complaints when I first came to Manila in 1980 are still the same complaints,
Right.
even worse than
Even worse.
decades after.
not the same.
know.
We're not in the same rut. We are in a deeper rut because the corruption has taken world-class magnitudes, and we have to stop that. The
President-
Philippines,
Sorry.
no, kaya, I'm if Sara Duterte, given all the evidence we have seen, is acquitted by the Senate, I think the Filipino people will revolt. Hindi na pwede. This is a case for which there is abundant proof of corruption. All right, and if we do not convict her, the lesson that will be learned by all these legislators are that they can get away with anything.
Where is the president in all of this, Tito Winnie?
Right.
You mentored him. I recall you saying that you mentored him when he was you mentored him in mathematics or in the economy in Malacanang.
In
I mean,
Malacanang? Yeah,
how would you? Well, this is
know
the
that.
same president that you mentored when he was a lot younger, who stood up in the Batasan and called out corruption in a very public manner. I mean, can't he do anything about it? I mean, I don't know. How do you? Because this is really bothersome.
Mentored President Marcos?
Yes, President Marcos
Wow.
Jr.
Junior. You're the mentor pala?
You will see. I think for a period, for a semester or something.
For a semester.
You mentored him in economics or something.
The amount of corruption of this president under this president's administration is less only than the amount of corruption during his father's time. No kidding. You can see there are data, international data on the amount of corruption and I was able to find out what the amount of corruption was. I mean, as far as each president was concerned. And you can see that under Bongbong Marcos II, the amount of corruption is just slightly less than the amount of corruption during his father's time.
Is this his direct doing, or is he just unable to, to staunch it? I mean, to put a stop to it or to prevent it from ballooning even bigger.
You know, the amount of, and what was the amount of money that was allegedly stolen by President Marcos, the first President Marcos? Was it not $10 billion? And now his son is saying that there was that their family had no ill-gotten gains. I mean, how, and the people accept that. Wala ka nang magagawa. Wala ka nang magagawa. I mean, internationally, this President Marcos I was alleged to have gotten about at least $10 billion in ill-gotten wealth. He stole. Makikita mo in Google, up to now, he's I don't know, number 1, or number 2, or number 3 stealer. Kasi there were people who stole more than him. Suharto stole more than Marcos. But
is he in the list?
Son says,
It's not.
Son says that there is no ill-gotten wealth. His family has no ill-gotten wealth. So where did they get all that money? If it was not ill-gotten, the Supreme Court calculated how much Marcos should have made, and his wife should have made. Nothing near $10 billion, maybe $300,000 over 20 years that they earned.
Billion.
The people pick the president. If we as a people continue this, what we do is we discount all reasoning, all logic, all for loyalty, all for, provinciano or whatever, if you're Ilocanos, they cannot say anything bad about the president. If they're Visayans, they cannot say anything about the vice president. In other words, by the way, Teddy, what goes on you say we are not in the same rut. You please tell your people it's not rot, it's rut. R-U-T. Pwede ba? It distracts me. We are not in the same rut. We are in a deeper rut. We are not in the same hole. We are in a deeper hole.
What is there any
Bright spot.
bright spot amid this darkness, amid this gloom?
There was a bright spot
economy.
during the term of Noynoy,
Oh.
I guess.
Therefore, because we are at least charging these people with corruption, and there is proof. So I really think Remulla is trying to do a good job. Because I think, he is sick, or he has recovered from some sickness or other, and he has seen the light. He has to do this for the Filipino people. If he does not do this for the Filipino people, he may rot in hell. And I say rot, R-O-T, in hell.
You're talking
That
about Boeing Remulla, ma'am.
Boeing
Boy,
did
Remulla.
Boeing. Mm.
job, I think. And if he's not doing a good job, I said, he will rot in hell because
Uh, if he's heading, if he's doing, I mean, if what he's doing is
Yeah, those,
is in the positive, is positive, then he has the president's support, I guess.
as I said, it's different that you know that a man is crooked and that you can prove that the man is crooked. At least he's trying to prove that the men are crooked. It's just that knowing, just proving, and it takes time. That's why this Sara Duterte thing has taken a lot of time to 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 bring out. I mean, there were hearings all over the place, and now the people that are being witnesses are witnesses have been. They cannot say anything else because they said something already earlier on in the congressional hearings. They cannot retract their statements.
Are you
So,
hopeful that the truth and justice will triumph in this impeachment trial?
Cayetano is no longer attending the hearings. Si Lauren Legarda is no longer attending the hearings. What does that mean? And if they vote against, I mean, conviction, if they vote for conviction, they vote for acquittal, binababoy nila ang proseso. Binababoy nila ang proseso. That's it. If they have anything against the process now, they should make their complaints to the Filipino people now, right? Not just go off, in a sulk or go off whatever for medical reasons. Terrible talaga. They do not respect the Filipino people. Who gave that 7.2 trillion pesos to the government? Not the Filipino people? Is it not our taxes that are trying to finance that? Of course, there's a deficit, but most of it comes from us. They treat the Filipino people like the Filipino people were their servants rather than their masters, and that is a thought process that should be changed completely. We have to change. We have to tell the Filipino people that they are the ones. It is their money that is being used. It is their money that is being stolen. It is the Filipino people. Wala. As we the Filipino people ourselves have a lot to answer for because we allow it to happen. We allow it.
so
Terrible.
the vigilance and action of the public are needed for
Whatever
the
happened to that million,
change.
the
change in mentality.
trillion peso march or something? It was started, right?
Yeah.
I hope there's still. I guess there's still people in the in society that are very very much concerned about this and are doing something about it.
Yes,
That-
same people. And we're Teddy. It's the same people. We're going to die soon. No, Teddy. No. The average life expectancy of a Filipino male born today is about 68 years old. You are past that. You are past that 68 years old. And the
Hardier
average,
stuff than most than the ordinary Filipino, I think.
but we have hope because we are learning little by little. It, it, it may be too slow for us because we are soon out of the picture, but the Filipino people will learn. I cannot believe that the Filipino people will be so dumb as to accept leadership like we have now.
Different, this is a very different Philippines from when you were in UP and I was just starting my career in journalism with Raul Luxin. Very different.
So, ilan taon ka na ba?
Ay, nako, you're like Frank. I will text you. I will text you the. Frank is so kulit. Imagine in public, never. I don't even remember my birthday. People have to remind me.
Ma'am, does the 2028 elections hold hope for Filipinos that
Yeah.
something will change?
Oh my goodness, I hope so.
So, I have learned something from this all. I don't want to see the faces of people who have been accused of corruption. But I don't want to see the faces of those people in the winning list of candidates. If they still vote for those people who have stolen so brazenly from them,
Correct.
I don't know. We have to start all over again. We are,
Or when?
I think, well, I have never voted for those people who have claimed that they're doing things for the poor, etc. And then they accept money from their friends, and I, these people are lawyers, and yet they say they're accepting from friends. Don't they know that there is a plunder act in the Philippines? Don't they know that? And then if they are elected, just go, I will fall apart.
Never get prosecuted kasi.
Yes.
They're not. But because of their age, like Mrs. Marcos, hindi ba she was found guilty? But because of her age, she can no longer serve time in jail. I don't want her to serve time in jail. She's, but on the other hand, there must be a way that she is to pay for whatever they did. And they did something, for sure. How can you have all that money being president of the Philippines for 14 years or 20 years or whatever it is? And then you're saying that that money was earned privately, or that money was in gold that he had earned, and he never declared that he had that money. Never in his public life did he ever declare that he had that gold.
I'll ask
Okay.
about
There's a question here, but this is nothing to do with politics. Nothing
This-
to do with politics.
about the West Philippine
About the
Sea.
what are your thoughts about the West Philippine Sea?
And the
Apparently,
agreement, yeah.
there is an agreement signed by Marcos. I'm not familiar
Yeah,
with this agreement.
not by Marcos, but by the DFA.
Okay.
And
Yes.
China
Yes, yes.
about the Ayungin Shoal.
Yeah.
We were discussing that with Tony Carpio, right? What was
Yeah.
the name? What was the
This
issue?
is the provisional arrangement, something.
The provisional arrangement that was signed by DFA, I think
and
Lazaro, under
Lazaro.
Teresa Lazaro.
And China.
Regarding the conduct of the Philippines, that the Philippines should ask permission from China every time
Every
they
time.
send provisions to
The Sierra Madre.
the Sierra Madre in Ayungin Shoal.
In Ayungin
What
Shoal.
do you feel? What do you feel about it? What are your thoughts about that, Professor Monsod?
Ask that question is Tony Carpio.
Again, you're losing your voice again.
Yeah.
You're losing your audio.
Can you approach the mic, ma'am?
Closer to the mic, please.
Tony Carpio That
Yeah.
is whatever he says,
Mm.
because
You're not
this
getting
is
clear.
wrong. He is the one I hold him an ambassador del Rosario, the ones who were responsible for that our win in the international court of the international court of,
Arbitration.
Permanent Court of Arbitration.
and apparently there is corruption involved in this provisional arrangement. I mean, mga people, oh God, I I mean that is not knowledge that I know. That is knowledge. I think that if Tony Carpio says there's something wrong with that arrangement, then you can put 100 million pesos on it. That there is something wrong with that arrangement. Tony Carpio has studied all of this. And if that arrangement has given away part of the wealth of the Filipinos to the Chinese, I will never forgive this administration. They've stolen our birthright. Hindi ba?
Really
Everything
agitating
is
former
all in
former
the budget.
yes,
Mm.
Justice Carpio is that after our Filipinos were battered by the Chinese in that part of the sea, in that part of our
Ayun.
economic zone, the to ease things off, the Philippines and Beijing signed a provisional arrangement,
Arrangement.
which has never, in its entirety, has never been really made transparent to the
Right,
Filipino
right.
people.
Nobody
What
knows
are the
about it.
conditions? But according to Justice Carpio, the most objectionable there is that it seems, or allegedly, the Philippines has to ask permission from Beijing every time they send provisions to Sierra Madre, which is the one that
Which is ridiculous.
yes, the one in
It's
the Huron
ours.
Shoal, which I mean, why would we even do that? Because that's part of the Philippine sovereign waters. If indeed that's true, that is what
That's the ruling.
Tony Carp is
There's
incensed
already a
about.
ruling about that.
Of course, little by little, the Chinese are getting everything that we have in that sea. They're making, what do you call it? They're scraping away at all our interests in that West Philippine Sea because they have a vision, and we don't have a vision. We have people who are interested only in protecting themselves or ay nako.
So anyway, but that's just an issue.
Yeah. There's a tendency of China of expanding their
I mean,
agreement
and
whenever.
I think the dangerous thing here is that there's no preventive. Like for instance, America is now. I mean, its attention is there in the Gulf, in the Middle East, and in Ukraine, and it seems that their presence here in Asia is being diminished by the Trump administration because of the attention that they're giving to the Middle
The
East
Middle
and Ukraine. So no, that leaves the Chinese more room for her encroachment.
And then the United States has its own problems. They're probably even bigger than ours now. America is no longer what it once was. And of course, Mr. Trump has a lot to do with it. But let's keep America out of this because we don't even know whether they will keep their word. But one thing sure, Malaysia, Vietnam, they're all with us, with the Filipinos. We have to, yung bang sinabi ni the Prime Minister of Canada, the middle nations who have to take care of themselves because something has gone wrong with the, with the first, ano sinabi yung, you cannot, you cannot depend on what the United States does anymore.
This is a very different America that we knew growing up.
There's this code of conduct, ma'am. Do you have any hope of that resolving the territorial problems that we have with China?
China
code
is
of
so
conduct.
big.
So then to the court, to the international court, they already decided in our favor. China refuses to accept, even if it is a member of that, whatever law of the seas, whatever it is. China can do what it wants, but it can only do so much. If we all stick together, they can't get away with it. They're so big, they'll fall on themselves. Di ba? Look at the United States, so big, and it's now falling on itself because of the leadership. China one day will not have as good a leadership as it has now. So maybe they will fall on themselves. And maybe in the future, we will have better leadership. You know what is wrong with the Philippines? Not that it has no resources, not that it has no money, not that it's one
Yes, ma'am.
lousy.
Lousy.
Ano?
Repeat it, ma'am.
Lousy what, ma'am? Leadership?
Lousy leadership.
We have lousy. Don't you agree?
Yes, but we're kind of having a hard time hearing you, ma'am.
No.
Meaning to say, we have leaders that steal from us rather than help us go forward, right? And then they try to tell us we're doing all right. Look at what we have. We're growing 2 point less pa than last year yata. Anong growth natin this semester, this quarter? Was it less than last year?
The last quarter, it was less than the previous quarter, ma'am.
You see that? But it will change soon because we're going to put all those thieves in jail, and we'll try to use our money properly. Do you think that is doable, Teddy, or you, for example? Do you think we can take care of our own money?
Form of underspending on infrastructure because of the scandal. Hopefully, we can have more. The government would spend more,
Would loosen the faucet more?
loosen the faucet more.
But I'm saying it depends on us Filipino people. We cannot blame anybody else for what we are going to do moving forward. We have to take care of this. We have to get rid of the thieves, and we have to start spending our resources wisely. Di ba?
I think we just have to really encourage more vigilance among the
Filipinos.
citizenry. I mean, to
Citizenry.
watch. I mean, to be vigilant about and to to take pains in monitoring the budget deliberations and to take an interest, because otherwise, wala. This is.
They just put in everything.
I mean, we're just allowing
their pet
these
projects.
thieves to run roughshod over us.
So where do these projects begin? Is it not in our barangay? Is it not in? So all we have to do is pay attention what is going on instead of saying, gobyerno yan, hindi natin alam kung anong nangyayari. We, because that's our money, we have to start saying, ano ba yan, anong ginagawa ninyo dyan? These flood control projects, they're in barangays, and you don't hear from the barangays. You just heard, you know, you just heard the people complain when they were asked. It did not come from themselves and saying, hoy, alam nyo, itong flood control project, mali yan, or, whatever it's called, palpak yan. Nobody ever, it just came after people investigated. But why? They know kasi there is a disconnect between, parang the poor people think that all this is manna from heaven. They don't know it comes from themselves. Whatever small taxes they pay, that's their taxes too.
Really, from the moment that the president stood in Congress during the SONA address in 2025, yes, 2025, right? Have you seen any gains at all in the campaign against corruption?
No gains at all. I know, except what the ombudsman is doing now, and I don't know what the Supreme Court decision will be with respect to that stupid unprogrammed appropriations. But there are gains. We have gains. You cannot spend 6.8 trillion pesos and not have something to say for it. But the problem only is that for the 6.8 trillion pesos that we spent last year or we're spending this year, there should be more gains. However, there is one that you may not agree with me with. That is the poverty incidence going down. If the data is true, that is truly an achievement.
Okay.
Yes, because we were supposed to start in 2028 pa. So that
Is the figure
But do you
reliable?
think that this poverty, it has shrunk to 9.7%, or shrunk by 9.7%, no, down?
Down from
Does this government
double figures?
have the capability to maintain that, position, that status?
That was last
Because there
year.
are challenges. I mean, so just one typhoon or a series of typhoons can wipe out that, and these people who are in the borderline can slip back to
And
poverty,
also
to the
prices.
poverty.
There should be considerations about prices.
Yeah.
it is an achievement because we have been using the same metric to compare poverty in the Philippines. And from a high of 33, it went down to 9.7. That's pretty good. That's the good side. The bad side is that Thailand has a zero poverty incidence, and I think Vietnam is close to zero. Our poverty incidence is relatively larger than the poverty incidence in our neighboring countries. Ayun lang ang, that's the downside. The upside is compared to the past. The Filipinos have really done well for themselves. Now,
How would you how would you explain the self-rated poverty being at 50% something which
I mean, objectively,
kind of clashes
the poverty incidence level has gone down, but people still feel poor.
that they are
I mean,
poor.
I think that's normal. Even in Norway, I was just in Norway last year, and the richest country on this planet, and people don't feel they're rich. I mean, well, of
But
course,
they
because they
don't
have to
feel
pay
good.
they have to pay big taxes.
Of course.
no,
No, but I guess
objective measure of poverty in the Philippines. The self-rated poverty is subjective, meaning to say it's you cannot measure it. It's subjective. My idea of poverty may be different from your idea of poverty, and so you cannot really count on it. But the poverty incidents that we are talking about, the Philippine Statistical Authority, although their idea of poverty is kaila mababaw ang kaligayahan nila. But the, the point is, as long as you have enough, 2,000 calories a day, I think, and you have this amount for education, etc., you are not poor. Now, but at least it's there. You can see it. If you don't agree with their measure of poverty, that's your opinion already. But that metric has been there, and we have measured poverty over the years. I did not believe that we would get below 10%. Family incidence is only 6.7%. My God, that means only 6.7% of families in the Philippines can be considered poor by that metric. Ganda na yun. That is a achievement.
Isn't that because a lot of Filipinos still work abroad?
What?
OFWs
A lot of Filipinos are
still work abroad.
still work abroad. I mean, OFWs.
And so they contribute a lot to
Yeah.
lessening poverty.
Cannot negate the fact that this is 9.7, 9 point whatever it is per person, and 6.7% for families. That's pretty good. I mean, after all, we've spent so much money. There must be something good that has come out of it. Why are we saying, not all, but
We're wasted.
So, let's give credit where it's due. I don't know whether it's the government who did it, or it's the people themselves, like you said, the self, the overseas Filipino workers. But we did it. Let's give it to ourselves. We cannot kick ourselves all the time. Diba?
Rating agencies and multilateral lenders have flagged governance risk, not just fiscal arithmetic, as a factor in the Philippines, in their outlook on the Philippines. As someone who has sat on both sides of the budget table, what single reform to the appropriations process would do the most to restore investor and public confidence before the 2027 budget is enacted?
2028.
Remove the unprogrammed appropriations, because that unprogrammed appropriations, they are dependent on additional funds that we get from, I don't know whether the additional taxes or everything else. Remove that already, because any additional funds that we get should be used for covering the budget, the gap. We have 7.2 trillion, magkano ang budget natin?
7.2 trillion
7.2 trillion
is the proposed.
for 2020. 6.8 for this year.
6.8
Trillion.
Sorry.
That can be used to remove the budget deficit. Could go towards removing the budget deficit. Then we won't need to borrow money. Borrow as much money as we borrow, and that is enough to give us at least a better chance of working tomorrow. That's the one you would say That's one. What do you think that should happen to the budget? The second thing that should happen to the budget is, please say in the what I mean, please announce to the public the difference between the NEP that the president presented, the expenditure program that the president presented, and what it actually turned out to be in the government. You see that difference is being covered by the fact that there's no announcement as to who was the one who changed the president's budget. That president's budget is supposed to contain everything that the development plan contains. When it is changed, we should know who is changing it and what they changed it for. In other words, transparency. There should be transparency. And the third thing is that there should be no more bicameral conference committee. Yan ang nangyayari.
BICAM, yeah. That's
No,
where
but they have to resolve the differences between two houses.
But
What
it's
should
not
take
happening. They just
How do we
mix
solve the
up the
differences
budget.
then in the two versions?
Maybe we should have one Congress.
In other words, that BICAM comes up with it. We should know exactly what they did. In other words, they have a House budget, and then a Senate budget. Then the BICAM comes and puts it together. When they put it together, they take out things from the House budget. We want to know exactly what they took out and who took it out. Then we will have a paper trail. Ayan pala yan. Perang yan, papupunta lang sa'yo pala. Hindi dapat gawin yun.
That's what happens behind closed doors in the BICAM.
BICAM be open to all viewers. So we will see exactly who wanted to change what. Because the BICAM can pass a completely new budget na nobody knows what happened to it. Nobody what happened to anything. Basta BICAM, ano ba? Hindi pwede yun. So transparency and accountability is so important in this budget.
Time it was live streamed. The BICAM. The BICAM
They should continue it if it was live streamed.
it's
Then
not,
they should continue it doing that.
Well, representatives of the people. They are supposed to be doing things for the good of the people. Let's see if they are doing things for the good of the people or whether they are doing things only for the good of their pockets. Hindi ba? Simple yun. If the people don't want to watch, sorry na lang. But there are people who are willing to watch. And there are people
Just one
Ted,
last
yeah.
question.
You can.
With the Senate now dividing
ask
its
the last
floor time
question.
between the impeachment trial and the deliberations on the 2027 budget hearings, are you concerned that the National Expenditure Program will get less legislative scrutiny than the 6.79 trillion 2026 budget did? And if the General Appropriations Bill again risks being reenacted, what would that do to the fiscal consolidation targets you said and the OECD have both cited?
Don't worry. There are people who are watching right now what that budget is going to be. Don't think that you can only walk and not chew gum. Filipinos are very tough. There are people who are watching that budget like a hawk right now. Maybe you are not, and I am not, but there are people, I am positive, who are watching that budget right now. And what they want to do is make sure that that budget will be that is money well spent. Okay. Ayan ang hope. Ayan ang hope.
Ordinary Filipino, it's hard to do since it's very voluminous. The budget that it's 3 books ata.
I'm sure there are 5 Filipinos who are looking at that budget and will tell us what. Hindi ba? You know, we have young students, graduate students, professors, academics. They are looking at that budget now. They, you know, they're not looking at the impeachment trial. You know, after all, we are so many. We can do it. We can do it. Whether we will do it is something else again. But one thing sure, I can tell you, we can do it.
We mobilized that 1 million march or something, then you know that can happen again. You know what I mean?
I tell you, even if that 1 million withers down to 100,000, it's still 100,000 who are concerned, and they are going to report to the Filipino people what they have found out. Di ba? Eh, yan ang kinakatakutan ng gobyerno. The government, I mean, the bad people, bad elements in the government are hoping that we will forget. No, there are people like, like you, the two of you, who will not forget. Age is
We will not.
Tumanda na ako sa hindi.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Ma'am, how about the previously before you? There was this proposal from our former Senate President Frank Drilon that the budget should be effective for 2 years.
Effective for 2 years.
Right, 2-year budget.
Is that a good thing?
Would that stop the corrupt practices?
no.
No.
If people want to be corrupt, they're going to be corrupt unless you stop them. You stop them in their tracks. People will always want to get away with murder. And then and we have a 5-year plan. The budget is supposed to be connected to that plan. We have already a 5-year plan, a 6-year plan. We already have that. If we just follow it, then, you know, or adapt it as we go along, because of course things are not static. If we follow it, which the president tries to do with the National Expenditure Program, we're on our way there. It is when that budget is being derailed by this, I know, people who want to make money. Kaya it is so important, final statement, it is so important that we continue this anti-corruption program and that we put a stop to people thinking that the people's money are their money. The people's paying the people's. But on the other hand, if the people say it's okay with us, then what can we do?
That wouldn't be the sentiment of the people, the Filipinos.
And also convictions, I think, because nobody seems to be,
That's another.
everybody seems to be getting away with
another problem.
murder. I mean, you know, look at Go there in abroad, in Europe, buying his way, buying maybe another,
Saldico.
I don't know, buy part of government abroad so that he can be
And one senator who was imprisoned, but is
one in prison. And,
already
one senator is in prison and then he's
already
out
on
in bail.
bail.
Out on bail. I mean, what's that? Yeah.
Doesn't.
Depends on the law and depends on the judges. If we have a corrupt judiciary, wala lang hope. We have a corrupt executive, corrupt legislature, corrupt judiciary. Not time. But
Exactly. Anyway, yeah.
3 years we have an election. That's when we judge. And if we do not judge properly, then all is lost. I don't think all is lost in the Philippines because you have people like you and many
People like
others.
you.
Like you.
Well, ako, Filipino first talaga ako. But I don't have much time. I don't have much time in this world.
So still be around
Yeah, just
after
stop thinking about that.
the next administration.
Let's just wreak havoc among the crooks. Let's just continue doing that.
Just, just call them out and we'll get by. I just want us to get by faster. And we can get by faster. Just we've got to talagang say corruption is dead. We want to kill corruption. We cannot, of course, kill all corruption, but we will at least put it to a minimal level. Di ba, Singapore does it. Hong Kong used to be so corrupt. Now, no longer. May hope.
I mean, sorry. They're already back into I don't know,
China's
you know,
hands.
to the PROC hands. PROC, when you want to kill you, it'll kill you.
Hong Kong is fighting. And so long as there are people fighting back in Hong Kong, we have hope. These people like you and me.
That
No.
note,
We hope
We
that
thank-
everything turns out well.
no, sincerely, Tito Winnie, you know, it's so good to see you still there. I mean, with all gumption.
Gives us
Yes.
hope for the future.
I'm so
With
glad
the
that you. I'm
people
so glad we
like you.
talked after this after quite a while. Good to see you, and thank you very much for your time. Keep the spirit
Right?
still there, bubbling. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Professor. And then mga katribu, today's discussion underscores how the budget is more than just a collection of numbers. It reflects the government's priorities, its approach to accountability, and ultimately how public funds are used to serve Filipinos.
At the same time, the Senate faces the challenge of balancing its budget responsibilities with the ongoing impeachment trial, making efficiency, transparency, and public trust more important than ever.
So thank you for joining us on Straight Talk. Catch us again next time as we continue conversations that matter to the nation. I'm Chito Losada.
And I am Teddy Montalibano. Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay safe.
Hello mga katribo at welcome sa Ask Manong Joe. May natanggap po akong tanong mula kay netizen Ezekiel Marion. Sabi niya, gusto kong matuto magbasa ng metro para mabantayan ko at di ako aasa lang sa nagbabasa. Paano ba ang pagbasa ng metro? Yung sa amin kasi ay may lumang na madaming umiikot. Maraming salamat sa tanong mo, Ezekiel. Subukan kong paliwanag yan sa mas madaling paraan. Please watch this explainer. May tatlong klase ng metro, nandiyan ang electronic meter, smart meter at electromechanical meter. Madalas nakikita ang electronic meter. Ito ay mas modernong metro na may digital display. Para po itong step counter sa mga smartwatch para masukat ang inyong steps. Habang kumukonsumo kayo ng kuryente, tuloy-tuloy ang pagre-record ng digital meter. Simple lang ang pagbasa dito. Basahin ang mga numero mula kaliwa hanggang papuntang kanan. Halimbawa, kung ang nakalagay ay 03879, ang reading ng metro nyo ay 3879. Ngayon naman, ang electromechanical meter may dalawang klase ito. Ang 4-dial meter at 5-dial meter. Ito naman yung metro na may mga dial para i-record ang inyong konsumo sa kuryente. Ngayon, paano ito babasahin? Ang unang hakbang ay tignan muna ang rightmost dial. Hanapin ang number 1 at tingnan kung nasaan ang pointer. Kapag ang pointer ay nasa pagitan ng dalawang numero, piliin ang numerong nalampasan na nito, hindi ang numerong papunta pa lamang siya. Halimbawa, kung ang pointer ay nasa pagitan ng 2 at 3, ang isulat ay 2. Kapag alam na ninyo kung paano basahin ang bawat dial, saka kunin ang buong meter reading. Gaya ng digital meter mula kaliwa, papuntang kanan ang pagbasa ng kabuuang reading. Ang numerong makukuha ninyo ang inyong current reading. Para naman makuha ang konsumo sa kuryente, ibawas lang ang previous reading sa current reading. Mahalaga ring tandaan na bawat buwan binabasa ang inyong metro upang makuha ang aktual na konsumo ng kuryente na magiging basehan ng inyong bill. At yan mga katribo, ang inyong guide kung paano basahin ang metro. Sana ay nakapagbigay liwanag ang inyong lingkod ukol sa usaping ito. Hanggang sa susunod na Ask Manong Joe, tuloy nyo lang yung mga tanong. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.